Welcome to something a little bit different, a Substitutions Deadline stream. If you want to see these in the future, at least from time to time, then let me know in the live chat. Drop a like, subscribe. After all the shenanigans from yesterday, I am back, and hopefully, I don't want to tempt fate at this moment in time, but hopefully all those issues have been resolved. But I'll get straight into your questions. I know there's still a lot of decisions to make. The deadline might have passed yesterday, but we still have a Substitutions deadline today at 8 p.m. in the UK, so we have just over an hour and a half to go through all your questions. Have a bit more of a chilled stream than we usually do in UCL Fantasy, but it should still be a lot of fun with plenty of questions and also topics to discuss. We're going to get the lineups very shortly for Paris Saint-Germain against Liverpool and also for Barcelona facing Atletico Madrid once again, because they did face each other on Saturday in La Liga. It was a great start to Matchday 13 so far with a triple up in the Arsenal defence. David Raya won player of the match, and this is why, Mikel Arteta, you start David Raya. He was a massive miss in the Carabao Cup final and also facing Southampton in the FA Cup on Saturday. Gabriel and Saliba both got 7-pointers. I bought Saliba in before the Matchday 13 deadline, and only 2 blanks in my starting 11 with Vinicius Jr. and Francisco Trincao. Both of them will be subbed off. I confirmed this to patrons and channel members earlier today, and over the course of the season, when people have been asking me what you're doing with your team and stuff, well, the members and patrons all got access to that before anybody else, and sometimes it was exclusive access pretty much. So that's pretty much how it goes. With the front three as well, Diaz, Mbappe, and Kane, yeah, I got those two mixed up. They all scored in the same game, and it was a thriller between Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Manuel Neuer, though, was the standout, so it was the goalkeepers union, both of them winning player of the match, him and David Raya. So I've got a few players remaining in Yamal, Hakimi, Szoboszlai, but there is a big decision for me to make in terms of one player to leave out of my starting 11, because I'm not going to sub out Diaz, who is my lowest scoring player in my starting 11 besides Vinicius and Trincao. I don't think it's worth having him on the bench, but maybe you disagree, and we're going to talk about that very soon. Joan Garcia, there is no chance I'm going to put him in for David Raya unless something crazy happens. I think the points have been secured in the goalkeeper position, but Nuno Mendes, Joao Cancelo, Kvaratskhelia, one of them could miss out, and right now it's a direct battle between Joao Cancelo, Szoboszlai and Nuno Mendes for the final spot in my starting 11. And what about the captaincy? Do we play it safe? I did last time out, and despite having 131 points in Matchday 12, one of my only regrets was not going for something bold, if you will, with the captaincy, because I had Gabriel with 8 points, and in the end Rafinha got 23 on the Wednesday. So sometimes you can be rewarded, but as you get deeper into the competition, I think you sort of play it safe most of the time. I think that is the general consensus, but I might take a punt here on either Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. I did show my captaincy list. I'll refer back to that. I think that's still going to be quite useful to you, and I think that's also going to answer a lot of questions in the process. So let's get straight into it, and starting from the ones from the top. Alex says this is new. Yes, it is. Welcome aboard, and thank you, Basel. Captaincy change is likely. I'm not going to say 100% set in stone, but that is my current thinking, and it has been throughout the whole day. 6 points is a little bit underwhelming, but a return is still a return nonetheless, and it's going to be quite difficult at this stage to get a player who guarantees that. And after Bayern went 2-0 up yesterday against Real Madrid, I wasn't that confident of Mbappe scoring from that point onwards, but he did. But having said that, it wasn't really what I was looking for. So 8 points or above, I definitely would keep. But if it's less than that, there is still a slight temptation. I think 6 or 7 points, not that dumb meme, but that is going to be the sort of like awkward zone, if you will, because I think that's bordering between good captaincy score at the quarterfinal stage and also wanting a little bit more from the captaincy there. Welcome there. Good to see you. Captain Kvaratskhelia, Yamal or Vitinha. My current preference is Kvaratskhelia, but if you saw my captaincy list yesterday and throughout my triple upload and all that stuff over the week, Yamal was top on my captaincy list and Kvaratskhelia was a close second. I always said from the very beginning that it's a very close call between those two. So that's where my head's at the moment. I'll probably take the armband off Mbappe and go for one of those two. Vitinha is a good option as well. He's done very well against English clubs at home. Look at the hat-trick against Tottenham. He scored against Chelsea and also against Newcastle, but I think the other two are better. Should I sub out Elise or Diaz for Doué and or Szoboszlai? Yeah, both of them with 5 pointers there. I would bring on Doué, and I know Szoboszlai's been brilliant this season in the Champions League, the most points of any player. But I think Szoboszlai could blank, and this could be famous last words and I look like a fool, but it's just my gut feeling, and that's why I'm considering starting Joao Cancelo over Szoboszlai and leaving the Liverpool midfielder on my bench, and thus going all in on Paris Saint-Germain in terms of my structure and the context of my squad. But I think in your case, I'd bring on Doué, but even then, taking off 5 pointers, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I'd maybe take a punt on bringing one of them in, and Doué is my preference. Hey Dylan, sticking with Raya, Gabriel, Saliba, Kane and Mbappe. I don't know if I should sub Szoboszlai in for Luis Diaz. Well, Szoboszlai has been brilliant. He's only blanked twice this season, by the way, in the Champions League. 8 returns out of 10 matches, and both of the blanks came against Galatasaray away. I'd keep Luis Diaz, personally. I don't if starting all my PSG assets, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Nuno, Hakimi, and benching Virgil and Szoboszlai is a good idea. A lot of us are backing PSG to win, and some of us are saying quite comfortably. I went for 4-1 in my predictions. You're going to see them very soon, and I'd highly encourage you to check out Predict 6 on the UEFA website. It is a lot of fun. But in terms of what you're saying here, I think that's the right approach, to go all in on PSG. Now, Liverpool have great heritage in the Champions League, and last season, of course, they beat PSG away from home, and they only lost out on penalties in the end over both legs. But yeah, it's always difficult. I mean, Van Dijk is the highest scoring defender for a reason, and Szoboszlai is top of all players. So it's always a risk, even with the context of both teams right now. But just the way Liverpool have played recently and throughout the course of the season, I think PSG are finding form at the right time. I'd go all in on Paris Saint-Germain personally. But yeah, definitely a good question there. And there is a debate to maybe bench one PSG defender, like Nuno Mendes, and bring on Szoboszlai, but that can go either way. I'd probably go all in on PSG. Welcome, Restolen. Big up to you as well. A substream, that's new. Yes, I think also a big influence, if I'm not, just to be completely honest, was yesterday. It was a bit annoying, to say the least, because I did so many tests before, not on myself, on the computer and also on the internet, and it was all good. But then as soon as it started, it was an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, this one, you know what, let me not jinx it. You know, I'm a very superstitious person. Maybe that's my Argentinian side coming through, but yeah, I'm glad to have you on board. Leave Kane or Kvaratskhelia, Lemine or Szoboszlai. I'd leave out Szoboszlai from those 4. Yeah, dancing emojis. Good to see you, Kai, and a nice goal by Havertz yesterday. Kvaratskhelia or Yamal on captaincy. So in my captaincy list, Yamal is top, and that was made a few days ago in preparation for my triple upload on Monday. But at the moment, I am leaning towards Kvaratskhelia, because whilst I think Barcelona and PSG will score plenty of goals, I'm more confident about PSG producing massive hauls there. Now, you could argue that Yamal is the sort of talismanic figure for Barcelona, especially in the absence of Rafinha, and PSG have so many routes to points, and they could bench Doué. He comes off the bench and scores like he did against Monaco, and we saw that with Kvaratskhelia in the first leg against Chelsea, but I think Kvaratskhelia is the one. I know a lot of people will be favouring Yamal, like Ristolen here. I think that's absolutely fair, and just to make it very clear, there's a chance I go for Yamal in the end, because he was top of my captaincy list for a reason. It's very close between him and Kvaratskhelia for me. Welcome to OG, good to see you. Brian Grady says, cheers Dylan, captain Kvaratskhelia or a punt on Fermin Lopez? I do like punts at this stage, and Fermin Lopez isn't just a random player to take a punt on because he's Spanish and whatever, he's got lower ownership than Kvaratskhelia. To be fair, I think the ownership figures are quite similar. I know the Georgian has higher ownership, but the last time I checked anyway, which was before the Matchday 13 deadline, it was identical. I'd personally go for Kvaratskhelia captain, but I understand the temptation to go for Fermin Lopez, and I think Barca could also win handsomely against Atletico Madrid. And I'll show you my predictions very soon, but I've gone for 3-1 in the Barca game. Give the man a like, thank you very much. It'd be, well, appreciated for sure. Also, clicking the hype button, sharing this as well, and subscribing. We are closing in on a new goal. Unfortunately, it was interrupted quite a lot yesterday during that stream, but 39,000 is on the horizon. The aim is to get to that next week in time for the Matchday 14 deadline stream. for the second leg of the quarterfinals. And is that the only thing I'm going to do? No, because I'm also covering FPL, and the plan is to do a final wildcard team, if you will, and also my team selection. If you want to see that, then let me know. Show support, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And on Friday, I'll be going live once again, and you can probably tell, maybe not, my voice is literally on the edge because I've been ill over the past couple of days. So yeah, not really ideal circumstances, but it is what it is, and as long as it holds out, I'm all happy with that. Kai says, hell yeah, once you're able to. Yeah, that's definitely would be the ideal scenario. Sometimes it might not be plausible, but whenever it is possible and people want to see it, then I'm definitely open to something a little bit different. I think people have been recommending or suggesting this for years now, and I have said I'm open to the idea, but things need to align a little bit. Hey Dylan, would you play Gerard Martin for Mbappe 6-pointer? I agree with you, Juan. I'd lean towards no as well. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it. Good day yesterday. For Arsenal, yes. Not for my stream, but I think I did the best possible considering the circumstances, and generally speaking, yeah. I'd like to say it was a good day as well. Should I swap out Upamecano's 4 points for Hakimi? That's a very close one, and I'd probably go for it because I think PSG could still get plenty of attacking returns from their fullbacks, especially Hakimi, who has 5 assists this season in the Champions League, so I'd probably go for that swap. Yeah, day 2 stream. Yeah, Oogie Boogie. I'm full of surprises, and actually, you just reminded me of one, because there was another, let's say, surprise I had in store for you. Well, let's do it now. I'm going to send 5 memberships for an entire month, and that means you get early access to my videos, prior to comments, and many other perks. I don't pick the people who get it. It's YouTube, so I just click the button, and YouTube does the rest. Thank you as well to Keith and the moderators for keeping things moving. I will go through all the questions. Just be patient. We still have over an hour left, and I'll be locking in my team for sure. I don't want to forget. Yeah, and let's not jinx that as well. So, Christian Delgadillo, good to see you back on board. Agustin as well. Freshly Football, Matt Bell, and Pieter, who I believe is a United fan. What are you doing here? I'm joking. Let me not banter too much because Arsenal have been a disaster recently. But yeah, good to see all of you, and don't take that comment too personally. Yamal is just too favoured by the bookies, almost double the chances to score 2+ compared to Kvaratskhelia. The thing with Yamal is he's more of an assister than a goal scorer, but over the past year or so, he has improved his goal scoring, definitely. So I think that could also work fairly well. Yeah, Yamal is the safest pick. I'm not going to deny that. It's just he played against Atletico Madrid the other day and didn't get any goals or assists, but it could be time for him to do that tonight. Kane captain or Yamal? Yeah, 7 points is very awkward. Just like Mbappe as well with 6 points, but yeah, with Kane it's a little bit more difficult, but I'd probably switch it. So either Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. If I have to be consistent from what I said from the beginning of the week, then Yamal is top of my Captaincy list and he is the safest pick, but I've got a good feeling about PSG assets. I think they could win very comfortably against Liverpool, at least score plenty of goals. They might ship in a few as well. I think Liverpool could score a goal, but yeah, Yamal or Kvaratskhelia, I'd switch it. Is Yamal on pens? Yes, he is. Now, to be fair, there is Lewandowski as well. But I'm fairly sure there was a recent game, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, where Yamal scored a penalty whilst Lewandowski was on the pitch. It might have been against Newcastle, actually. So, yeah, that's what I would say. So we do have a new member in the building as well. Big up to Oogie Boogie. Always a pleasure. And yeah, you might not have got the membership just yet, Sontisto, but there is still a chance. So I'm going to give 5 more later on. So just keep your eyes peeled, and I wish all of you the best of luck in terms of winning that membership for an entire month. But a massive shout out there to the new members in the building, including Oogie Boogie. Thanks for becoming a differential. Keep the armband on Mbappe or switch to Kvaratskhelia Lemine. I'm leaning towards switching. That's the sort of mindset I've got. Now, just to be clear, in future rounds, I'd probably be a bit more conservative with the captaincy, and maybe one of the reasons why I'm looking to switch today is because of what happened last week, or I should say back in Matchday 12, when I kept Gabriel. He got 8 points. I thought I, was the dog's bollocks, as they say. And in the end, Rafinha gets 23 points. But there were other options as well, like Yamal. So I would have gained 2 extra points. I mean, that's not really like a massive swing. But the Rafinha one, it goes to show sometimes you can get a massive swing in your favor by being brave. It's not always the case, but if you pick your moments and get a bit of luck, you can definitely be rewarded. So at the moment, I'm looking to switch to one of Kvaratskhelia or Yamal, and Yamal is top of my Captaincy list, at least from the beginning of the week. Enjoy, Agustin. Te amo, Dian. Thank you very much. I love you too. Christian Delgadillo, thank you. You're welcome. Enjoy the membership, and yeah, YouTube can also be thanked for that one. Great idea this, Dylan. Really useful for your viewers and great for building your content even further. Well done, mate. Keep up the hard work. Much appreciated. Very kind words, and it's also a bit more chill compared to the usual chaos in the UCL Fantasy Deadline streams. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I've said this for a while. UCL Fantasy is my favorite fantasy football game, and it's also, yeah, the one that drives the most traffic and engagement on my channel. So I'm definitely open to more videos, because I already do Limitless, Wildcard, team selections. I was the first to do deadline streams, and yeah, to add something else to the mix is always welcome. Keep on doing substitution streams. They help a lot. Really useful. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, it won't be the case in Matchday 17 because you can't make substitutions, but hopefully for Matchday 14, 15, and 16, I can make it possible, and maybe it'll be a mainstay next season. But this was also a way to not only test my internet and to see if my solutions work long term, but also to see if people are on board for something like this. So yeah, so far so good. Let's see if it continues. Mbappe captain yesterday, worth swapping? Yes, I believe so. I'd probably switch it. Personally, there's no right or wrong answer. And even last week, or I keep saying last week, 2-3 weeks ago when I went for Gabriel, I wouldn't say it was a wrong decision. It's just there were opportunities to gain quite a lot of points there if you nail on the right captain on the Wednesday. But I think in this case, I'd probably switch. Bonus stream, yay. Yeah, what happened yesterday definitely played a big part, but I'm glad to be live at the moment. Yo, what's up, Dylan? Yesterday I had Mbappe at captain. I'm tempted to captain Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. So I think a lot of you are in a similar position, and I also captain Mbappe. I'm looking to switch, to be honest. One needs to stay out. Mendes, Hakimi, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Yamal, or Dembele. Yeah, very interesting one, this. I would probably leave out Mendes. I think PSG could concede, but as I mentioned earlier, they're still capable of those attacking returns. And Nuno Mendes has 2 goals, 2 assists, 2 clean sheets, and the second most ball recoveries in the game with 72. But Hakimi has shown better form in recent weeks, and he has 5 assists in the Champions League. And with all those attackers and midfielders, I'd definitely start them. So it's a case of Mendes or Hakimi, and I'd probably start Hakimi. But in terms of ball recoveries as well, Nuno Mendes is better than Hakimi at that. So let's say PSG concede and neither get an attack and return. Well, Nuno Mendes is more likely to get an extra point for you than Hakimi is, but I'd probably chase the upside with the Moroccan. Vitinha or 4 points? I'd go for Vitinha. Yeah, good question that. Is Dembele a good captain for today? Yes, he was in my top 10 list for a reason. What I'm actually going to do, because we're going to get the lineups very shortly, well, I'm going to go through them in just a few minutes, but let's promote a few things, if you will. Let me actually double check though. I'll answer one last question before going back to this. Yamal Dembele for captain today? Yamal. And Ahmed, I'm going to go through your question very soon. Just going to... You know what? Let me just do it now because I didn't even check. What an absolute idiot. Yeah, it's all working with the overlays as well. So my team is Harry Kane, Mbappe, Diaz, Szoboszlai, Vinicius Jr., Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Jonathan Tah, Gabriel, Hakimi, Raya, Seinof, Baccio, Yamal, Ruggeri. What is your advice? Yeah, interesting stuff this. So, in your starting 11, I would take off Jonathan Tah. And yeah, Yamal has to come in for sure, but that would be for Baccio. I'd leave Ruggeri on your bench, and I would probably drop Szoboszlai for Yamal. So that would be the best way to optimize your team. And let me know what your captaincy thoughts are, but a lot of people have either captain Mbappe or Kane. And if they are switching, Yamal and Kvaratskhelia are the 2 most popular names that are flying around. Okay, so this is my... Yeah, this is the one. This is my UCL Fantasy Mini League. The code is SEINOF. There is an auto-join link in the description. And there's also a Discord server, my Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You get updates for UCL Fantasy and FPL. And the same goes for my content too. Check out patreon.com/FPL for likes to my videos, proud to post comments, and many other perks. There's also the join button on YouTube to make things even easier, but a big up to all the members as well. I'll be gifting 5 more by the end of this stream. In terms of the highest scoring players in my fantasy league, Adam UCL is top, and I believe he's a long-time viewer of this channel, so big up to you, and you're definitely flying at the moment. Let's not focus too much on myself. So, yeah, 1,196 points. Yeah, I wish I had those points, to be fair, but I'm still happy with what I've got. And Vinicius Junior captain, so yeah, switch is definitely happening today if you actually remember to do your team. But that's another good thing about this stream, by the way, because people might be like, oh yeah, substitution deadline, and they're reminded by the stream. I've seen it plenty of times with normal deadlines in FPL and UCL Fantasy, so hopefully a few people have been helped just by seeing the notification or the thumbnail. If that's the case, let me know in the live chat as well. Drop a like and all that good stuff. With Predict 6, I went for Sporting 1, Arsenal 1. I'll be completely honest with you as well. I have this thing where sometimes when I predict an Arsenal win, they end up losing or drawing, and when I just predict them to drop points or not win the game, they end up winning. So that sometimes plays a part in my thinking, just saying. Real Madrid 2, Bayern Munich 2, not too shabby, but the Bavarians did win 2-1 at the Bernabeu. I've gone for Barcelona 3, Atletico Madrid 1, and I'm going to go through the lineups in just a couple of seconds. Paris Saint-Germain 4, Liverpool 1. What about the individual predictions though? So I put Barcelona to score first, and for the Catalans to be 1-0 up at half-time. Will Yamal and Seinof both score? I've said no. And Pedri is my player of the match, but I might need to change this. Maybe Yamal will be the one I end up going for. That's something I'm looking at. So yeah, the lineups are officially confirmed. So I'm going to go through that in just a few seconds. I've got some polls I also want to go through with you. So for PSG 4, Liverpool 1, I've gone for the Champions League holders to be 1-0 up at half-time. Will someone score a penalty? I've said yes. Will Kvaratskhelia get an assist? Yes. Will Liverpool score in the second half? Why not? Let's put yes. That's what I've currently gone for. It is subject to change. And maybe later I'm going to show you quiz. There are a few interesting ones in here, and you can see me either fumble or succeed in these respective quizzes. I haven't played it in, I think, over a week or two, so it's definitely good to get back on track with this. So a lot of you are asking, should we stick with Mbappe or should we switch to Yamal, Kvaratskhelia? I put a poll out on my channel, and what I might do is actually drop a link in the live chat so you can click it and make sure to vote as well. And that's another thing you get by subscribing. You see all these polls and stuff. You get the notifications as well for my videos, especially as a member and patron. You get early access to them. So definitely have a look at the community tab. It's very useful. But Yamal is top with almost half of the votes. Kvaratskhelia is second. And sticking with 6 points or less, and Mbappe being the sort of poster boy for that, that is third with 23%. Other option is last, and that would include João Cancelo, Lewandowski, Doué, maybe Hakimi, Nuno Mendes, Szoboszlai. Those would be the sort of standouts if you're not looking at Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. And this is one of my biggest dilemmas now. Let's just refresh this and get the updated votes. So Nuno Mendes is actually top, and this is about who to start. João Cancelo is last, and that's currently my thinking, to start Szoboszlai and Nuno Mendes and leave the Barcelona defender on my bench. He only has 3 points this season in the Champions League. But yeah, let's now go to the lineups. So, for Barcelona, Joan Garcia, Koundé, Cubarsí, Gerard Martin and João Cancelo, Eric Garcia and Pedri, Yamal, Olmo, Rashford and Lewandowski. So not many surprises there. Oh, actually, yes, Fermin Lopez isn't starting. That's the big surprise. Yeah, so I stand corrected there. I thought there was something a little bit odd with that, but apart from that, it's what you would expect. For Atletico Madrid, Musso, because Oblak is injured. I covered that in yesterday's deadline stream. Ruggeri, Hanko, Lenormand, Molina, Lookman, Koke, Llorente, Simeone, Alvarez and Griezmann all start. Let's take a look at the benches quickly before I move on to Paris Saint-Germain against Liverpool. So for Barcelona, Szczesny, just in case, let me not say it, Balde, Araujo, Gavi, Ferran Torres, Fermin Lopez, Casado, Cortés, Espart, Marquez, and that's a pretty difficult name to pronounce. Maybe someone can help me in the live chat. For Atletico Madrid, there's Esquivel, De Luis, Mendoza, Soloff, Alex Baena, Thiago Almada, Lenglet, Bubil, Vargas, Gonzalez, and Julio Diaz. A lot of Argentinians there in the Atletico team. And another thing I covered in yesterday's deadline stream was the fact that Bubil is back in the squad. So that's all confirmed there. And let's take a look at this one. So for PSG, Seinof, Hakimi, Marquinhos, Bacho, and Nuno Mendes, Zaire Emery, Vitinha, and João Neves, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, and Doué to lead the line. And for Liverpool, Mamadashvili, Kerkez, Van Dijk, Konate, Gomez, McAllister, Gravenberch, Wirtz, Szoboszlai, Frimpong, and Ekitike. Okay, so yeah, a few interesting things in here. So for PSG, Chevalier, Marin, Lucas Beraldo, Zabani, Gonzalo Ramos, Kangin Lee, Hernandez, Mayulu, Dro Fernandez, and Mbaye all on the bench. So obviously Barcola is not in the squad. And for Liverpool, Woodman, Miskior, Isak, he's back, but Salah's on the bench for Frimpong. So that was the surprise in these sets of lineups. Chiesa, Jones, Gakpo, Robertson, Rio, Nioni. Sorry, no, I got them confused. Rio is the last guy. They've also got Nioni in there in the squad. So yeah, that's all covered for PSG Liverpool. And yeah, a few surprises there. Fermi Lopez and Salah both benched. I'd say those are the standouts. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. And now I think is a good time to show you the top 10 captains. So let's take a look. These obviously were the graphics before the first leg of the quarterfinals. So I'm going to go ahead and skip, if you don't mind. And let's go to the clean sheet odds. And then we can see how accurate they have been. So Arsenal were top of the clean sheet odds, and they did deliver. I tripled up on the Arsenal defence, and despite being quite cynical about the Gunners at times, I went for that Saliba transfer, and yeah, they definitely paid off there. 40% chance. In terms of today's matches, Barcelona and PSG are the standouts in terms of keeping a clean sheet, so you could argue João Cancelo should start in my team. Bayern Munich, Sporting, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and Atletico complete the rest of the pecking order. And I do agree that Liverpool and Atletico are the least likely to keep a clean sheet this week. So now for the top 10 captains. If you want to do a drum roll, a coin flip, whatever it is, I've got Yamal top, but this was done early in the week. And over the past day or so, I have slowly shifted towards Kvaratskhelia. It's a very close one between those two, and I might resort to the coin like I'm Two-Face. Mbappe's third, Kane is fourth, and of course, he featured yesterday and scored and delivered 7 points, so we don't need to worry about that flag. Vinicius Jr., Gabriel, Vitinha, Dembele, Alvarez, and Gyökeres are all in the top 10, so looking pretty decent there. Well, maybe not, because so far only Mbappe and Kane have returned from these players. To be fair, Gabriel as well. Gyökeres let us down a little bit. But ultimately, I think this list was still pretty good overall, and we've got plenty of Wednesday options to come. I think the PSG players are standouts, especially in the midfield and forward line, but we can't underestimate Hakimi or Nuno Mendes either. Are you going for Yamal, Kvaratskhelia? Are you switching from Mbappe? Let me know in the live chat. Show support as well. Like, subscribe, hype, share, all that good stuff, and thank you for tuning in. It's now time to go back to my UCL Fantasy team, and very soon I will lock in my substitutions because we do have that confirmation. It might be worth refreshing this just so you can see the icons about who's starting, sorry. Like I said, my voice is a little bit on the edge. So yeah, that's all settled. I'm just going to show you as well. Let's refresh this, have it ready. Just so you have an idea of what I'm looking to do. So Kvaratskhelia is definitely coming in. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to make these two subs now. And bring in Nuno Mendes and Kvaratskhelia for Trincao and Vinicius. Obviously, the rest of my players from Tuesday all returned. Triple up in the Arsenal defence. And my entire front line, including Diaz, Kane, and Kylian Mbappe, who was my captain. So that's the current plan. That's all confirmed. So as you can see, nothing to really troll you about there. But there is still time, or there's room for another substitution, and that could be João Cancelo in for one of those PSG players, and it's going to be on that defensive line, either Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, or even Szoboszlai. That is my current dilemma. I showed you the poll from my YouTube channel earlier, and with the captaincy, I am looking at switching it to either Kvaratskhelia or Yamal. That is my current thinking, and that's one of the biggest debates from today's live stream. I'm sure a lot of you will have the same question, and we've seen quite a few of them already. So let's get back to it. Who to captain today? Either Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. I think Yamal is the safer pick, but I do like the PSG attackers against Liverpool. Dembele is certainly a good captain for today. Dembele, Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. They're all in my top 10. You saw that list and the order of them. I think Yamal's the safest. It's between him and Kvaratskhelia. I would rank both of them higher than Dembele. Would you sub Upamecano for Van Dijk, Szoboszlai, or leave him? I'd probably sub him out and bring on Szoboszlai. Thank you, Riyadh. Hello, everyone. Congrats on Arsenal's win. My Vinny captain didn't pay off. I am switching on Yamal now, or anyone differential. Thanks for the stream. Much appreciated, and it could be a blessing in disguise for you because there will be a lot of options or a lot of managers who captain Mbappe or Kane, and they might not switch, and they miss out on a massive haul from Kvaratskhelia or Yamal tonight. And if you can nail that on, that's going to be a massive return there for you in your quest to secure a green arrow. So, yeah, I'd probably go for Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. I know they're template pick, so to speak. Yamal is even more higher owned, let's say, compared to Kvaratskhelia, but I'd go for one of those two. And you've got an easy decision there to make in terms of the captaincy. Yeah, it's good that Arsenal won yesterday. Not a great performance, but David Raya made the difference, and that's why you start your best players, especially in a cup final. Dembele is a good point for captain. Yes. Should I swap Van Dijk for Szoboszlai? I'd bring on Szoboszlai. Yeah, I think he's the better option. Good to see you, Sontisto. Hey, man, I've got Hakimi and Van Dijk on the bench. Need to sub one on for Tar. Which one would you say? Hakimi. I think PSG are more likely to win, to keep a clean sheet, and also in terms of attacking returns, Hakimi is better. You could argue that Van Dijk is better, well, he is from set pieces, and maybe in terms of goals overall, but ball recoveries is something that Hakimi is nowhere near Van Dijk, but for everything else, I think the Moroccan has the edge this week. Keep those substitution lives coming. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, we've got a few hundred people watching, which I appreciate, and yeah, it's good to see, well, people enjoying it, and yeah, we've still got over an hour left to lock in our final squads. Szoboszlai or Vitinha? I can only sub one. I'd rather have Vitinha this week. Kvaratskhelia or Szoboszlai? Kvaratskhelia. Is it worth subbing in Szoboszlai Van Dijk for Luis Diaz? Szoboszlai, possibly. I wouldn't bring on Van Dijk for Luis Diaz, no. Yeah, definitely you can switch Szoboszlai for Trincao. I mean, he only got 3 points yesterday. I think Szoboszlai could better that. Mantengo a Díaz y Olise o cambio por Vitinha y Nuno Mendes. Es difícil esto. Creo que Vitinha es alguien que puedes poner en tu equipo para uno de Díaz o Olise, pero no haría ambos. Creo que Nuno Mendes en el banco es mejor. Puede ir en cualquier manera, porque con Paris Saint-Germain muchos jugadores pueden anotar un gol o hacer una asistencia contra Liverpool, y para mí Paris Saint-Germain va a ganar tranquilamente esta noche. Pero Vitinha está yendo bastante bien en la Champions, especialmente contra equipos ingleses de local, como Newcastle, Chelsea y Tottenham, donde anotó un hat-trick. Así que Vitinha para mí es el mejor. Play Pacho o Virgil van Dijk? Pacho. I favor PSG today. Captain Kvaratskhelia o Dembele? Kvaratskhelia. Hola Dylan, abrazo desde México. Gracias. Tengo a Fermín López en la banca. ¿Puedo cambiar a Dembele, Szoboszlai, Vitinha, Van Dijk o Hakimi? ¿A quién sacarías? A Van Dijk, pero como dijimos recién, Fermín López está en el banco. Así que, mira, Fermín López puede salir del banco, juega 20-30 minutos y hace un gol. Es posible, pero no me gusta cuando un jugador está en el banco. Así que para mí es mejor tener a Fermín López en tu banco. Yeah, Fermín López bench. Should I start Szoboszlai instead of Lopez then? Yes, I would. Like I just said in Spanish, I don't like starting players who are on the bench, so, I mean, that's kind of obvious. We have seen examples where Kvaratskhelia and Doué, over the past couple of rounds, they've returned big off the bench, but usually the chances are much slimmer. But, you know, a few of you have mentioned Fermín López being benched. Not many mentions of Salah, though. Not many of us do have him in our UCL fantasy teams. I've captain Kane. Should I switch captain to Yamal or Kvaratskhelia? I'd personally recommend switching, but there's no right or wrong answer. And Yamal is the safest pick, if you will. The most template option. I do like Kvaratskhelia a lot, though. They're in my top 2 for the captaincy throughout the entire week, and I said that since Sunday. I have a feeling Griezmann will do something special in this tie. Well, facing his former club, Barcelona, obviously Simeone got emotional in the press conference. There could be something to it. Yeah, Dembele's in the starting 11. I do like him a lot as a punt today. 7% ownership. Might have gone up a little bit after the deadline, but not by much. So still a massive differential in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I definitely don't mind a punt on Dembele. Who is the best option for captain? I like Dembele a lot, but I think from these two, I'd lean towards Yamal. Should Kane captain as also switch? Yeah. I mean, as you say, there's not much of a difference between 7 or 6, I'll say, just to prevent that dumb meme. But yeah, I would switch it. Now, as we get deep into the competition, especially the semi-final, yeah, that's going to be a little bit different. And even with 6 or, let's say, up to 8 points, I'd definitely hold on to that. Leave Kane on captain or change to Yamal, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele. I'd personally change. Szoboszlai, Mendes, Cancelo, or Bacho. One of these I have to bench. Which one do you think? So at the moment, I'm benching Cancelo, and it's between him, Mendes, and Szoboszlai. But I think in your case, Bacho is also part of that debate for sure. I'd rather start Mendes over Bacho because of the high ceiling that the Portuguese left-back has. But I think Cancelo would be the one. One thing you could do, though, is if you're going all in on PSG, you think Liverpool have no chance, and as good as Szoboszlai is, you think he's going to blank, then you could definitely just start Cancelo instead. But I think I'd probably bench Cancelo. That's my current thinking. Bacho, Hakimi, Vitinha, Szoboszlai, Van Dijk, Alvarez. Which two to bench? I would bench Van Dijk, and it's either Bacho or Szoboszlai. Very close one. Probably Bacho. So I would start Hakimi, Vitinha, Szoboszlai, and Alvarez. I have 1,083. Yeah, good points tally. A lot of good ones flying around this season, and I've gotten plenty of 100+ points in a single match day, and yeah, it's still very competitive, just outside the top 10k, so I'm trying to break into that once more. Chat, would you swap out Upamecano plus Rice, 8 points for Alvarez and Vitinha? Yeah, I would, actually, Oogie Boogie. I'd bring both of them on. Hey Dylan, can I switch Szoboszlai to Francisco Trincao? Yes, you can. I think that is the best thing to do. Yeah, exactly that, right? Massive 10 points. If it wasn't for him, I think Arsenal would have lost 2-0 at the very least. He made the difference, and it's good to see goalkeepers get recognition yesterday with the Player of the Match awards. I remember that Adam dude, he was #1 in the world. Yeah, that's what I mean. He's flying in UCL Fantasy. But yeah, credit to him. I know, obviously, this is very far back in the chat. I'm trying to get through all the questions. So yeah, I'm going to do a quick fire now. En resumen, ¿cambiarías jugadores que te hicieron 4 puntos? Sí, pero también depende de los jugadores que vas a poner. Así que si tienes a Szoboszlai, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, seguro que lo haría. Álvarez también, pero si es un defensor, bueno, tengo dudas, especialmente con Van Dijk y con los defensores de Atlético Madrid. Para mí no van a tener una valla invicta y para mí no van a anotar muchos puntos, digamos. Así que depende del contexto, pero en la mayoría de los casos creo que 4 puntos lo haría un cambio en esta semana. Captain Yamal or Kvaratskhelia? Yeah, it's a very close call for me. I'm going to make a final decision within the next hour, but probably Yamal. If I had to pick one at the moment, it's 50-50 between him and Kvaratskhelia almost. So yeah, this question has been answered as well. Thank you very much. Hopefully you saw it. Should I sub out Fermin Lopez for Szoboszlai? Yes, I would. I'd play Rashford for sure. That was for Justin's question, but I don't see it at the moment. Maybe later I'll see it. But yeah, just try to be patient and your questions will be answered. Otherwise, the mods will put you on timeout, as we saw just there. Start Cancelo or Alvarez? Alvarez. Yamal or Dembele? You called him Dumbbell. Yamal for me. Should I start Cancelo or Gerard Martin? Cancelo. Bench Cancelo, Rashford or Trent? Says Donaldinho. Great name. I would bench Trent or Cancelo. I'd definitely start Rashford, who scored against Atletico on Saturday. But I think I'd bench Trent here and just go for it. Would you rather Cancelo or Szoboszlai in your squad? At the moment, I'm going for Szoboszlai, but it's one of my big dilemmas for the substitutions and also with the captaincy, as you well know. But it's between Cancelo, Szoboszlai, Nuno Mendes for the final spot in my starting 11. With Fermin bench, should I play Van Dijk instead? I'm almost 50-50 on this one, but because Fermin Lopez is on the bench, I typically don't expect these players to return. It can happen, but it's not that often. I probably would start Van Dijk in this case, but yeah, I just don't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet. So you're really looking at ball recoveries and maybe a goal from Van Dijk from a set piece. Sal on the bench, yeah. Finally, I see someone who actually mentioned it. It's a surprise to me, but maybe not to others watching. Should I swap Szoboszlai for Van Dijk? Yes. I did say this a few times, OG, so let's see what other people think in the live chat as well. And if you do want to see a poll, let me know, and I can put a few forward in this live stream. That could definitely help a lot. Yeah, captaincy for me, either Yamal, Kvaratskhelia. Those are the two standouts. There are other options like Dembele. If you are looking for a differential captain, Dembele is the one I'd recommend. But I was also bullish on him in the knockout phase playoffs in match days 9 and 10, and he got injured. Bit of bad fortune there, but he hasn't really got going in the Champions League this season. Tengo a Salah y a Fermin López. Muy mala suerte, pero ambos están en la banca de sus equipos. ¿Qué harías? ¿Los dejas afuera? Depende de los jugadores que tienes en tu alineación, así que avísame y podemos finalizarlo, pero sí, creo que es mejor dejarlo en el banco, especialmente con Salah. Yeah, thanks for that, Justin. Would you sub Rashford or Cancelo for Tar? I'd bring on Rashford, Justin. Yeah, Rashford's the one. Kvaratskhelia captain 100% now because of the Barca squad. Barca very defensive. Yeah, not a bad point. I did talk about this with patrons and members earlier, that I was leaning towards Kvaratskhelia, and I might just rely on the coin to make the final decision, but yeah, I do like both of them. In terms of the captaincy, there's not much to split them, and I've been saying that for a while now. So yeah, going into this substitution deadline is getting even more difficult to kind of call between them, but yeah, that's a good point maybe. Barcelona's lineup is a little bit different to what we would expect. Obviously, Fermin Lopez is on the bench, but there is a like-for-like replacement for him in Dani Olmo. Would you play Van Dijk or Ekitike? I mean, Van Dijk is a much better UCL fantasy option, but in the context of this game, I'd probably start Ekitike. Should I stick with Hakimi and Bacho and keep Cancelo out? I probably would, to be fair. I think Barca have a slightly better chance of a clean sheet, but the PSG defenders have more attacking potential, at least in the Champions League, compared to Cancelo. Start Fermin Lopez or Martin? Probably Gerard Martin. Yeah, I mean, it could be a case of Martin getting 2 or 3 points and Fermin Lopez gets 1 off the bench. And if both of them were starting, I think the answer would be quite clear. But because of the benching, I think I'd start Martin. Hey, Dylan, keep Elise 5 points or swap out for Szoboszlai. Good to see you, Richard Millichip. I would keep Elise's 5 points, I think. But it's a very close one because, let's not forget, Szoboszlai is the highest scoring player in the game. 83 points is nothing to be snuffed at. You should put a poll for captain Yamal Kvaratskhelia. Yeah, I think so. I did show a poll earlier, but it also involved keeping Mbappe captain, and it had the other options. So it'd be good to have a poll now on this. So let's do that. So we'll keep the same 2 options. Okay, let's put both of them in there. It's going to take a little water break. Cool, and I'll get this poll sorted. Okay. So those are the two options I'm putting in this poll. There are others, of course, in UCL Fantasy, Dembele being probably the prime candidate outside of these two, but yeah, maybe some of you are backing Liverpool with Szoboszlai. I wouldn't fully discount him. But yeah, I will be making some changes soon. Good to see so many of you in the building. Let's get the likes up as well. A bit of an ambitious target is to get to 200, and I'm going to gift 5 more memberships. I did gift 5 earlier in this stream. And yeah, this substitution deadline stream is also a way of saying thank you. Also, making up for lost time in yesterday's deadline stream of all the internet and hardware issues I was experiencing. But yeah, so far so good, and hopefully, yeah, the solutions I found are going to work in the long term. But I'm going to go through all your questions now. I did show you the lineups earlier. I'll probably go through them one more time, talk about the captaincy and the clean sheet odds again. Jesus Christ, sorry about that. But yeah, I'll try to go through when it comes to my voice. Like I said, it's kind of walking on thin ice. Jugadores con 5 puntos cambiarías. Creo que no, y también depende del contexto. ¿A qué jugadores vas a poner en vez de Olise, Díaz y todos estos que hicieron 5 puntos? You have Szoboszlai for assist goals, but PSG defense. Yeah, well, they can both return in the same game, by the way. Hakimi's main asset is through the assists, and yeah, both Nuno Mendes and Hakimi have gotten quite a few goal contributions this season. I get, obviously, the concern, but yeah, I think it's also a case of maybe PSG win comfortably, but Szoboszlai scores a goal and yeah, gets a consolation. But if we're comparing, as this viewer says, Joao Cancelo and Szoboszlai, well, one of them has 3 points and the other one has 83. Now, of course, there's a lot of different things to say about that, and we're chasing sort of the points yet to come, not just looking at what happened in the past. But I just think Szoboszlai is a far better UCL fantasy asset. But yeah, if you're backing Barca for a clean sheet, then Cancelo's definitely a sound pick, but I think Szoboszlai has the higher ceiling. Yeah, as I mentioned before, it's still Yamal for me. I did cover your question earlier. Yamal or Kvaratskhelia captain from your point of view? Probably Yamal, but it's very, very close. At the moment, Kvaratskhelia is winning the vote, and I did say in my post for patrons and members earlier today that I was leaning towards Kvaratskhelia, which was a key change from my Captaincy list from earlier in the week. Thank you, Haribo. What a great idea to do a sub-stream. I'm all for it. Much appreciated. On that note, would you take out Trincão's 3 points for Van Dijk? That's a very close one. If it was Szoboszlai, I'd say yes, with no doubt in my mind. But with Van Dijk, yeah, he could score 2 or 3 points, but I just don't expect him to score much more than that. But yeah, with ball recoveries and the goal potential he offers from centre-back, if Liverpool do win, or if it's a draw, let's say, and they look fairly decent defensively, which is a big if, Van Dijk can win player of the match. He's got 2 of them this season, so because of that, and we know he's the highest scoring defender in the game for a reason, 76 points, I would go for Van Dijk. And yeah, unless he gets red carded, I think probably the gains outweigh the sort of like calamity that it could turn out to be. That's the way I look at it. So with 3 points or less, even with Van Dijk, I'd probably make the switch. I think with 5 and above, it's a little bit more awkward. Who to play out of these 3? Well, 3 out of these. Baccio, Ruggeri, Szoboszlai, Hakimi. I'd leave out Ruggeri and play the rest. Even if they clash, I'd still go for that. Szoboszlai over Elise. Not a bad shout, but yeah, I'm seeing a few questions about this. For me, I would keep Elise. Pedri or Baccio? I'd go for Baccio. Now, one of my original predictions in Predict 6 was for Pedri to win player of the match. So obviously that would make him a decent option. But in terms of goals and assists, he's not great for that. And I do like Pedri a lot as a player. Yeah, Oogie Boogie, I would make those switches. I'm not sure if my chat isn't showing what I've already gone through. But yeah, I would make those switches. So let's see what other questions we've got. Which of these 6 players should play? Gerard Martin, Lemine, Fermin Lopez, Kvaratskhelia, Hakimi, Joao Cancelo, Van Dijk, Szoboszlai. I'm subbing out Vinny, and other than that, have Diaz, Raya, Gabriel, Kane, and Mbappe in. Okay, so you have to pick 6 out of those 8 players. I would leave out Van Dijk. and Femi Lopez. Yeah, I think that's what I would do. Should I stick to Kane 7-pointer captain? Not a bad idea, but I'd personally recommend switching it to either Yamal or Kvaratskhelia. I can only sub in one player because of how many points my stars have. Should I sub in Cancelo or Szoboszlai? I'm leaning towards Szoboszlai at the moment. Tar Alpha Cancelo or Gerard Martin Cancelo? Yeah, I think Femi Lopez will come on, especially depending on game state. But yeah, I would expect him to get some minutes. Who should I bench out? Cancelo, Rashford or Trent? Probably Trent, but it's a very close call. But regardless of what you do, my recommendation is to start Marcus Rashford. Okay, just going to get the chat back up. I think this time it's YouTube freezing a little bit, but it should be good. Yeah, Yamal or Dembele for captaincy? Yamal. And I'm going to go through the camps list one more time, but it has been shown already. Should I take out Trincao for Joao Cancelo? Yes. Okay, Football Goggles says Yamal. Going Doué captain. That's interesting. I think that could work as well. He's going under the radar. Now, for being honest, I know he returned in the league phase once or twice, but his biggest returns came in the knockout phase playoffs against Monaco, where he won player of the match in both matches, but in the other games, he has been a bit underwhelming this season. Bring in Dembele for Upamecano? Yes. Play Szoboszlai or Pacho? Very, very close one. I would probably play Szoboszlai. I'm ready. Yamal captain locked. All the best there, Kuka. Yeah, I think Yamal's a brilliant choice. He's going to be the go-to tonight. And it's going to be a very close one between him and Kvaratskhelia. Thank you as well to Aranya. Rank best captains. Well, I think the best thing to do is just show you my captaincy list and talk about the sort of thought process there. So let's just skip ahead. Let's go to the clean sheet odds first, so you can see that as well. But very soon you'll have the full top 10 list, and I'm pretty sure everyone you've mentioned there features. Yes, they actually do. But yeah, let's see if Barcelona and PSG can keep a clean sheet tonight. Obviously, Arsenal already secured their one yesterday. So from the beginning of the week, I had Yamal top of the captaincy list, Kvaratskhelia second. We can ignore Mbappe and Kane, of course, they both delivered. Vinicius didn't, though. Gabriel got a solid 7-pointer, and I had Vitinha, Dembele, Alvarez, Gyökeres. One thing I might change, actually, is putting Dembele ahead of Vitinha. And there is a case to also do the same for the top spot, with Kvaratskhelia pipping Yamal to number 1. But very close between those four. I think from the players you mentioned, it's going to be a Yamal-Kvaratskhelia debate, and it's a flip of a coin right now. I'm currently leaning towards Yamal, but early in the day, I think it was Kvaratskhelia. So depending on the time of day you ask me, I might give you a different response, basically. But that's where my head's at the moment. Thank you very much for the super chat, and to everyone else tuning in. We are closing in on that super chat goal, and let's close in on 39,000 subscribers. It'd be very much appreciated. I've answered hundreds of questions. My voice is literally being pushed to the limit, but I'm trying my best. Esteban says, Hola Dylan, ¿debería cambiar a Madueke con 3 puntos por Cancelo? Creo que sí. Es lo mejor para tu equipo. Mr. Alex, I did cover your question, so let me know if you heard my response, but I did go for it. Pacho or Cancelo in? Very close one, but probably Cancelo. Dylan, tip my hat to you. Handled yourself admirably. As always, good luck. Please like. Thank you, Johnny. When the stream was ending, though, I was punching things, you know. I was taking up my anger there. But yeah, it was short-lived. It is what it is. It's frustrating. And also just the other things, like I mentioned it yesterday, I literally can't even move my neck properly and stuff. It's a bit of a disaster. It's like a nightmare. Anything you think that can go wrong does go wrong. I ordered food yesterday and it was all spilled. I'm like, what's happening? But it is what it is. At least Arsenal won. But they lost the last two before that, but we won't talk about it too much. Grande Dylan, thank you very much, Ignacio. Good to see you today in the live stream. I captained Luis Diaz yesterday with 10 points. Which one to think is more differential captain? Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Hakimi, or Yamal? Yeah, if you're talking about a differential captain, it's certainly going to be Dembele. He had 7% ownership before the deadline and only 21 points, so a lot of people will be looking at that and thinking, nah, he's not the same player this season, but he has been performing in Ligue 1. And facing a Liverpool side who are very open defensively, I think Dembele can get quite a lot of joy. So based on what you're asking me about going for a differential captain, my advice would be Dembele. I completely agree with you. For captain, Kvaratskhelia, Yamal, or keep it on Kane. So Yamal is top of my list. Kvaratskhelia is a close second. I'd probably switch it, even though Kane got a decent 7-pointer. Yeah, I agree. The Yaps. I think Cancelo over Bacho. Now, in my case, I've got Nuno Mendes, so that's a little bit different. But yeah, I think with Bacho, who's excellent for ball recovery, 78 for the season, I'd still go for Cancelo, who has a better chance of a clean sheet, albeit the chances are quite identical. So you say Cancelo's more of an attacking player and has 3 assists in the last 4 games and 1 against Atletico. Haven't seen much of Bacho, but he's a central defender. Well, Bacho's actually been decent when it comes to goal contributions in the Champions League this season. I think he's got a goal, 2 assists, 78 ball recoveries. That's what makes him a standout option. But I think Liverpool are more likely to score than Atletico, dare I say? Well, according to the clean sheet odds, no. Barca are slightly ahead, actually. But yeah, it's a close call between those two. It's a very close call. Yeah, I think Cancelo would be the one over Bacho, but only just. Kvaratskhelia or Alvarez captaining? Kvaratskhelia. Would you leave Fermin Lopez in your team? It depends on who the alternative is, but probably not. In most cases, I'd leave him on the bench. Subbing out Vinicius and Trincao for Szoboszlai and either Nuno Mendes or Van Dijk. Have a Kimi in already. I'd bring on Nuno Mendes. I'm going all in on Paris Saint-Germain. Yes, it causes a clash with Szoboszlai, but yeah, I think PSG are looking good at the moment. Fermin for Vinicius. I mean, it's 2 points, so probably. I think Fermin Lopez will come on, so the worst is you lose out on 1 point. But I think Fermin Lopez is still capable of getting an attacking return off the bench. Sub Elise in for Kvaratskhelia. Or I should say sub Elise out. Yeah, I would. I would make the substitution here. I always say this, it depends on the context as well. 5 points is awkward, and in most cases I'd keep the 5-pointer. But Kvaratskhelia is one of my top recommendations for the captaincy today, so yeah, I'd go for Kvaratskhelia. Change Diaz for Vitinha. It's a very close one. Very, very awkward. I probably would. Dylan, I'm not sure about switching captaincy from Kane to Yamal. I completely get that. And even, it's not just about switching the captaincy, it's about who do you go for and landing it successfully. Because Yamal Kvaratskhelia seems to be a 50-50 call, which the poll is reflecting right now. 1 second I check, Kvaratskhelia is winning. The next one, it's Yamal. So it's a very tough debate there. So I completely get it. And yeah, I think Barca could miss Rafinha, who, to be fair, hasn't been great in the Champions League this season until Matchday 12. But yeah, I think Rafinha was showing great form before his injury. Bacho or Cancelo in? I'd go for Bacho. Sorry, I'd go for Cancelo. Ignore what I just said. I had a little brain freeze. Hola Dylan, debería cambiar a Madueke? Sí. Start Joao Pedro. Joao Cancelo or Szoboszlai? Szoboszlai. That's my current preference. Captain for Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Yamal. Yamal's the safest pick. I do like Dembele as a differential, to be fair, but yeah, for me, it's going to be the poll. That's literally it. Kvaratskhelia, Yamal are the best options. I'm leaning towards Yamal at the moment, but that could change very quickly. Yeah, I'd keep Fermin Lopez on the bench in most cases, but it depends on the context of your squad. Thank you, Mina. It's good to see you as well. With your last sub, would you take out Vinny's 2 points or Salah's bench spot? I'm doing whichever you say. Ooh. Well, it's going to be similar logic to the Fermin Lopez one, even though I'm less confident in Salah, who's had a dreadful season, but I just put Salah on because the worst is you lose out on 1 point, and if he doesn't come on at all, 2 points. Unless you have horrendous luck where he comes on, misses another penalty or gets sent off. Yeah, I think the upside or the sort of potential gains far outweigh the minimal losses we're talking about. So I'd bring on Salah for Vinicius. I think realistically speaking, if I'm sort of expecting what I think will happen, I think Salah will blank and come on for a 1-pointer. But in the odd chance that he does get something, I think it's worth bringing him in just to kind of explain my thought process a little bit more. Van Dijk or Upamecano? I'd keep Upamecano here. I think PSG will score 2 or 3 goals minimum. And with Van Dijk, he could get ball recoveries and, yeah, sure, he can score a goal. But, yeah, I think with Van Dijk, it's more likely he gets between 2 to 4 points and nothing more than that. Captain Alvarez, Kvaratskhelia, or keep Mbappe? I'd captain Kvaratskhelia. Alvarez is a good shout, but I'd go for Kvaratskhelia. Give us a device, please. We need you in as our captain. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Give us a device. Don't get me started on devices because the one I'm using to stream right now let me down big time yesterday, but it is what it is. ¿Qué piensas quitar a Mbappe de capitán y poner a Kvaratskhelia? Sí, es difícil. Para mí no es una cuestión de ser correcto o que sea falso, pero creo que es mejor poner a Kvaratskhelia o Yamal como capitán. Szoboszlai for Diaz, 5 points. Close call, but I'd probably stick with Diaz here. Van Dijk or Martinelli? Martinelli. Brilliant assist, by the way, for Havertz yesterday. 4 points, I'd keep that. Keep Gabriel captain or Yamal? I'd go for Yamal. Similar story to Kane and Mbappe, of course. Same sort of scorelines we're talking about here. Should I sub out Trincao for Cancelo? Yes. Rashford or 4 points? Rashford. Van Dijk or Upamecano? Upamecano. Anuta captain. I'd say Kvaratskhelia or Yamal, one of those two. And Yamal was top of my list for the whole week, basically. Stay Upamecano in or add Lookman? Ooh. That's an interesting one. I'd probably stick with Upamecano here. So a lot of Upamecano questions. Should I take out Upamecano points for Fermín López? No. Because Fermín López is on the bench. I know he could come off, make a short cameo and get a goal or assist, but I don't think it's worth it. Tengo a Mbappe de capitán. ¿Debería cambiarlo por Kvaratskhelia, Doué o Szoboszlai? Creo que sí. Y mi favorito es Kvaratskhelia. Upamecano for Ekitike. I'd keep Upamecano. Yamal might be marked heavily and Dembele plays false 9. That's a fair point, and I'm not going to say to you that, oh, Yamal is by far the best option in the captaincy, because it's far from it. I think this week might be one of the closest when it comes to captaincy throughout the whole season, but yeah, it's between Kvaratskhelia and Yamal for me, but Dembele is a great differential captain on paper. It's just a question of, is he actually going to produce in the Champions League this season? Because we saw him score against Leverkusen in the league phase and Chelsea in the round of 16, but apart from that, he has been a massive disappointment this season. Alvarez for captain, what do you think? Yeah, he's 9th on my list. I'm going to go through that captaincy list very shortly. And time does fly because we've only got, 30 minutes, give or take? And I might go live for a little bit longer beyond the substitution deadline, depending on how my voice is. But yeah, I think Alvarez is good, but I do prefer the PSG attackers and Yamal. Hola Dylan, Hakimi or Pacho? Hakimi. Hola también, Daniel. Is it worth subbing on Fermín López, hoping he comes on and scores? I'd definitely stick with Elise here. 5 points compared to a players on the bench. Yeah, I'd stick with Elise personally. Just my opinion. Sí, Esteban, ojalá que escuchaste lo que dije, pero creo que es mejor cambiarlo. Diaz or Szoboszlai to Vitinha? I'd rather drop Szoboszlai. Yeah, I'm going to swap captain. I'm very sure about that. It's a risky play, but I think Kvaratskhelia or Yamal could definitely end up producing. What I will try to do as well is maybe reflect my possible changes in the captaincy list, because that was made on Sunday and in preparation for the triple upload on Monday. So let's see if I can quickly sort that out. And to be fair, we don't even need the point scoring graphics because they're out of date anyway after yesterday's matches in some cases. Maybe not so much, but okay. Poll is absolutely crazy, by the way. It's probably the most 50-50 poll I've ever seen, which isn't exactly helping me when it comes to making my final decision, but there you go. Now, Yamal has produced returns in the last 3 Champions League matches. He got 13 points against Copenhagen. He got 7 points against Newcastle from the penalty spot at St James's Park, and he followed that up with a 10-pointer in the second leg. And Kvaratskhelia was the highest scoring player in the round of 16, getting double-digit returns in both matches against Chelsea, and he's been very consistent over the course of the season in the Champions League. So very close call between these two. But I do like Kvaratskhelia against Liverpool. And I think the other change would be... I'm not going to change... Well, should I? Maybe I should, actually. I was actually going to change, like, the order. So, obviously, Kane got more points than Mbappe, so put him ahead. And just to kind of give you, like, a graphic that shows you what I would do in that case. I mean, that's not a bad idea, actually, now that I think about it. That's something else I could do for potential future streams for the substitution ones. But, yeah. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about, because some of you might be confused. You'll be like, what are you on about, mate? Just answer my bloody question. But yeah, we have gotten a lot of captaincy ones and substitutions, which is obviously the point of this. And hopefully you did get the answers to my questions. I will go back to them very shortly and answer some new ones, but yeah. Let's do that, actually. So, I'm going to put Dembele third now in this captaincy list. I'm going to have him catapult the rest. Probably stick with Vitinha just behind Gabriel and the others, but let's see. I think this will be very useful to a lot of you once you see it. Yeah, we can remove the flag for Kane in advance, even if it's not updated on the game yet. We can forget about Vinicius. We can put maybe Vitinha. Yeah, I think Vitinha's not too bad. Okay. Alvarez. I'll put Szoboszlai in this list. Yeah, why not? So let's see. So we've literally just got half an hour left until the deadline. Make sure to lock in. Okay, that will do. Other players, I think in this case, I'm going to try to show you like something a little bit different in terms of like just Wednesday options maybe. I think that could help. I'm going to put Vitinha up there. I think Rashford's a good shout as well. I'm going to end this poll, by the way. Yamal and Kvaratskhelia. And Yamal is just about winning. 51% of the vote. It's crazy. Yeah. That is one of the closest polls I've ever seen. But yeah, Yamal, I think, has just about won it. 52% now. Interesting stuff there. Okay, so let's see if I can get this one done as well. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put Doué in here as well. I think Doué could be very underrated. Okay, so I think I'll probably leave it at this because, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I don't want to duplicate too many players. I'm going to put Alvarez a little bit higher up as well. So it's going to be a bit rough, but I think this graphic will definitely help you, like I said. So in just a minute or so, it should all be done. I think, yeah, Szoboszlai 10th. I'm going to put Alvarez 7th, Doué 6th. And yeah, nice top 5 full of Barca and PSG players. Okay, I'm going to put Nuno Mendes, Hakimi. Let's put Mendes and Hakimi. Okay, that should work. Alright, thanks for the patience, lads and lasses. But this is something that I could also fine-tune for potential future substitution streams. And I can even include like some of the Tuesday captains that are a bit of like a myth, if you will. The ones like Kane and Mbappe from yesterday that get 6 or 7 points, and you're like, well, do we change them or not? And we can include them and rank them against the Wednesday captains. That's something else that I'd be open to doing, which is something that no one else out there will be thinking of. So yeah, it just adds to the content too. I think this is all done. Just going to double check that it's all correct. So yeah, I believe it is. It's a good enough list, I think. Not too bad. So let's go for that. I'm going to be showing you that in just a few seconds as well, and then answering more questions. So keep them plugging away, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll be making my Captaincy switch in a couple of minutes as well. I think that it definitely needs to happen. Okay, so yeah, just exploring the video and it will be ready for you in just a second. Okay, lovely bloody jubbly. Yeah, for the time being, let me just go back to my team. So that captaincy list is going to be updated very soon. Poll time. Yeah, let's do another poll. Why not? And this one is still gaining traction, but Yamal is the winner. We'll give him that one. 52% of the vote. Kvaratskhelia with 48. Switch. All right, so I'm going to do something similar, but it's about switching or sticking. And then after that, I'm going to be doing like quite a specific one, which is in regards to Szoboszlai, Nuno Mendes, and João Cancelo, which I think a lot of you also have going on at the moment. Yeah, I'd probably bring in Van Dijk for Vinicius 2 points. They're all great options. You're going to see my full Captaincy list very soon. I've currently got Kvaratskhelia first, Yamal second, and Dembele third, but ultimately they're all interchangeable. Bench Van Dijk or Cancelo? I'd bench Van Dijk. So that answers Hassan's question as well. Szoboszlai or Vitinha? Vitinha. And captain is between Yamal and Kvaratskhelia. I'm 50-50 on it, but I've got a good feeling about PSG attackers, especially Kvaratskhelia, so I might end up going for Kvaratskhelia. It's, yeah. Earlier in the stream, I talked about Yamal. He's the safest pick. I'm not going to change my mind about that, but in terms of like the ceiling and the form, and it's not just about the player and the team that he's playing for, but also the opposition. Yeah, I think Liverpool look a bit all over the place recently. If they play the way they did against Man City in the FA Cup, I think PSG could destroy them. So from those three, I'd captain Yamal. Yeah. Between him, Kane, and Alvarez. Captain Kane, Yamal, Alvarez. Yeah, I just covered that. Do I switch Trincao for Rashford or Cancelo? I'd switch him to Rashford. Szoboszlai or Gerard Martin for the final spot? Szoboszlai. Bench Cancelo or Doué? I would bench Cancelo. Szoboszlai or Doué? Doué. Diaz 5 points for Cancelo or Szoboszlai? I would keep Diaz. Yeah. Would you stick with a 3-pointer or bring in Van Dijk instead? Yeah, that's a close one. I'd probably end up bringing in Van Dijk, but there's not much in it. In my prediction, I think Van Dijk will blank, but he can still walk away with a ball recovery point and salvage something, even if PSG batter Liverpool. Vitinha or Upamecano with 4 points. Vitinha. I have Zubimendi and Upamecano gave me 4 points. I have Kvaratskhelia, Hakimi, Yamal, Szoboszlai in my lineup. Should I use Nuno Mendes or Van Dijk for my bench, or just keep Upamecano and Zubimendi as it is? Yeah, very good question, and it's a close call, but I would bring on Nuno Mendes. I'd keep Van Dijk on the bench here. Subbing Cancelo for Rice, 4 points. I'd probably go for it, yeah. Elise and Diaz, 5 points. Bacho, Hakimi, Vitinha, Yamal. Would you sub in Kvaratskhelia? Yes, definitely. I would drop Bacho from those players you mentioned. So Switch is winning 76%. Okay. Might be a little bit low, of course, if I included Harry Kane in that poll, who got the extra point with a 7 overall. Yeah, I've said this all along. My plan is to change the captaincy from Mbappe to either Kvaratskhelia or Yamal. It's very close, though. That's interesting because Kvaratskhelia was winning the poll for 90% of his time up. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it kept changing for me. Whenever I checked, you know, it'd be a different winner, if you will. But yeah, Yamal got the most votes in the end. Don't know why I spell like that. Estoy sintiendo un Due. Sí, creo que Due puede hacer un muy buen partido y es difícil con los jugadores de Paris Saint-Germain porque tienen muchos jugadores que pueden hacer un gol, hasta los que están en el banco también, pero obviamente no está Barcola, así que está un poquito diferente la situación, pero sí, creo que Due, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele están todos ahí, y por eso voy a mostrar la lista de los mejores capitanes. Así que ahora ya vamos, después de esto, las probabilidades de clean sheet odds. Vamos a ver los mejores capitanes. So, these are the clean sheet odds. You've seen them so many times at this point. Let's see if Barca or PSG end up keeping one tonight. But this is my updated captaincy list, and it was done a little bit rough, literally during the stream. I put Szoboszlai in 10th, and this is just Wednesday players only. I've excluded all the Tuesday ones from yesterday. So I'm not changing, you know, the narrative and claiming this was my original list or anything like that. But just focusing on Wednesday players. I've put Nuno Mendes in 9th, Hakimi is 8th, and Alvarez is 7th, with Due just missing out on the top 5. I think there's a case to start him or put him above Rashford in the pecking order. Vitinha's 4th. Ousmane Dembele makes up the podium with Yamal and Kvaratskhelia. Honestly, it's so close. I might just go to the coin because literally, early in the week, I was definitely Team Yamal. And I think earlier today, I started shifting towards Kvaratskhelia, and I had some doubts during the stream. I think Yamal is the safest pick. He's the one with the highest ownership as well. But Kvaratskhelia has a very high ceiling as well. And he also has 11 goal contributions in the Champions League this season. So, let's go for this. Let's say heads is Yamal and tails is Kvaratskhelia. So, why not? I mean, I've made this a habit in some FPL streams, and it's typically right. Whatever it lands on ends up being the better option, if you will. So, I mean, was that really a good one? It only did like that. It was like slow motion. It's kind of crap. I'm not saying that because I don't like what it said, by the way. I think it did land on tails. So it does say Kvaratskhelia, but let's do a proper coin toss. It landed on tails again. Bloody hell. I mean, you could just be thinking, oh, Dylan, you're just flipping it. We can't even see it, but I have no reason to lie. It landed on tails twice. Make of that what you will. That's the sort of fantasy content you'll sign up to see, for sure. But hopefully this captaincy list is helping you. But I will go back to my team, just so I can also feature some questions and maybe make a slight change. I'm also going to whiz through the rest of the questions and comments. So, Szoboszlai or Gerard Martin? Szoboszlai. Captain Kane, Yamal or Alvarez? Yamal. I have Mbappe. Moving it is a bet. I have Hanko and Lookman on the bench, but the worst player in it is Upamecano. Just take your chances. I'd definitely leave Hanko out, but Lookman, there is a case to start him over Upamecano in your case. Yeah, with Mbappe and Harry Kane, it's definitely a risk to switch the captaincy, but we saw it, a few weeks ago with Gabriel. A lot of us would have captained him on the Tuesday. He got 8 points. Not a bad return, but then you get Rafinha scoring 23. So sometimes it is worth it. Szoboszlai over Elise, worth the risk? To a certain extent, yes, because Szoboszlai has been brilliant in the Champions League this season, returning in 8 games out of 10. But I'd probably keep Elise personally. Just my opinion based on how I think things will turn out. Szoboszlai, Vitinha, Cancelo for Upamecano, and Diaz. I'd bring on Vitinha for Upamecano, if you can make that work, depending on if you have 3 defenders already in your starting 11. But yeah, that's an awkward one. I think all of the 3 players you mentioned that you're looking to bring in, they're all pretty decent, especially Szoboszlai and Vitinha. Would you stick with a 3-pointer, bring in Van Dijk? So yeah, that was covered. I'd bring in Van Dijk there, but not a big fan this week. Should I switch Luis Diaz for Cancelo? I'm going to say no. Van Dijk or Cancelo? I prefer Cancelo. So yeah, that was also covered. Hopefully you saw that. Fermin Lopez in for Carreras. Once again, risk versus reward. If Fermin Lopez comes on for a 1-pointer, you only lose out on 2 points. But yeah, I personally think Fermin Lopez will blank and get 1 point, if I'm being honest. And 3 points isn't great, but every little helps, if you will, if you work for Tesco. But I'm going to say, in this case, no. Which, once again, I don't blame you if you end up going against that, because it makes sense to sort of chase every upside that you can. And we have seen a few players off the bench for Paris Saint-Germain in particular get a lot of goal contributions, and also with Arsenal as well. Captain Dembele, Yamal or Kvaratskhelia? Very close, but probably Kvaratskhelia. Another tough call. I mean, what's the difference between 4 or 5 points, right? But I probably would go for Cancelo in this case, but only just. So let's just go for the new questions since I've gone through a lot of these already. Just got here, should I keep my captain as Mbappe or switch to Yamal? I'd switch to Yamal or Kvaratskhelia, depending on who you have, but yeah, those 2 are the best ones. Thank you, Agenor. Very kind words. Hi, Dylan. Glad FPO is back as well as the streams. I know UK people hate the international break, but here in Bosnia it's been crazy the last 2 weeks after our success. Good luck on the business end of the season. Much appreciated, and I wish you the best there with FPL. And yeah, congratulations on Bosnia qualifying for the World Cup. And once I saw certain Italian shenanigans, I had a bad feeling for them. And yeah, Bosnia definitely capitalised, so fair play to you. Start Van Dijk or bench Fermin Lopez? I would start Van Dijk. Dylan, I'm not sure about switching captaincy from Kane to Yamal. Yeah, I read out your comment earlier. I completely understand your viewpoint. Missing Rafinha as well. I'm looking at Kvaratskhelia at the moment. It's between him and Yamal for the captaincy, but I still think it's worth the switch from Mbappe. Captain Dembele, Yamal, Kvaratskhelia. I think I've covered this. Yeah, really close between all of them. I think my favourite is Kvaratskhelia, but it's a coin toss between him and Yamal. Bench Van Dijk or Cancelo? I would bench Van Dijk. I'd bring in Rashford for Trincao there, Diego. Szoboszlai instead of Gerard Martin. Bench Cancelo or Doué. I would bench Cancelo. Szoboszlai or Doué. I would pick Doué. Vitinha or Upamecano? Vitinha. So yeah, these have also been covered as well. Play Szoboszlai or Van Dijk? Szoboszlai. There is a case to just keep Rice as 4 points, but I think there is a good argument for Szoboszlai here. I have Nuno Mendes and Vitinha and Joao Cancelo on the bench, sorry. Replace Vitinha with Vinicius. Should I lose 5 points for one of the others? I don't think so. Yeah, Vinicius out for Vitinha looks really good. I think I'd keep the rest as is. Maybe there's a case for Nuno Mendes, but it's literally very close. So yeah, with this one as well, I'd sub in Kvaratskhelia for Pacho. That was covered earlier. Thanks to the moderators for dealing with some of the spamming. But yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to tell which questions I've answered already and which ones haven't, because some people have literally just repeated the same one a few times, to be honest. But yeah, I have answered a lot of questions here today. We've still got over 10 minutes left, and I will be locking things in fairly soon. Don't know who to captain, Yamal or Dembele. Yamal hasn't scored against Atletico in 5 matches, leaning towards Dembele. I'm top 100 in the world, so I don't know if I need to take that risk. My head is gone. Yeah, because especially when you're doing so well, you overthink a lot of decisions, but you got to keep doing what has got you to that position in the first place. And if it doesn't go right, well, there's always the next match day, which is literally next week. So I completely get your sort of justifications and arguments, and I also looked at that when I was analysing the best captaincy options, and I think Kvaratskhelia and all these PSG attackers like Dembele could perform very well against Liverpool, especially at the Parc des Princes. Last season, PSG battered Liverpool at that stadium, but somehow the Premier League champions ended up winning 1-0. Why are you not captaining Lamine? Well, I talked about this throughout the stream. It's very close between him and Kvaratskhelia. I'm not suddenly saying Yamal is bad, and I haven't even made that final decision yet, but I just think Liverpool have a weaker defence at the moment than Atletico Madrid, and when I look at Barca, they're missing Rafinha, and Yamal himself hasn't been as consistent in the Champions League as Kvaratskhelia. I just think with PSG, their ceiling is higher tonight compared to Liverpool. And in my scoreline predictions, I've said 4-1 PSG and 3-1 Barca, so it's still quite similar there. You could argue that Yamal's more of a talismanic figure than Kvaratskhelia because the goals are more evenly distributed and shared in that PSG side. So definitely arguments for and against for both of them. And Yamal is also one of the highest in terms of the pecking order when it comes to penalties. But yeah, I think Kvaratskhelia would just about edge it, but it's really close. Yeah, thank you, Ajno. I'm glad that Fantasy is back as well. And yeah, the last couple have been decent for both FPL and UCL Fantasy, and now it's a big decision to make for Game Week 32. I'll be covering that soon. Hopefully I can do a final wildcard team video and my team selection over the next few days, and also a deadline stream on Friday. That's why I'm trying to recover as much as possible to have my voice intact. Fermin Lopez or Van Dijk? I'm going to say Van Dijk with Fermin Lopez on the bench. Thank you also to Frank. Hopefully I haven't butchered your name. Loving this in between matches stream. Thanks for all the info as always. I'm going with Yamal. Kvaratskhelia has always failed me when I need him. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes we just have that player who doesn't really perform for us, and you don't know what it is. It's like me with Ollie Watkins in FPL, but you just can't trust them. And you give them another chance, they let you down again, and you're like, that's it. I'm not going to, make the same mistake for a third time. So yeah, Fermin Lopez or Gerard Martin. I get that. Fermin Lopez has a higher ceiling than Martin, even on the bench. If you're not backing Barca to keep a clean sheet, which I'm not, then I'd just start Fermin Lopez in your case. But that is also dependent on your predictions. Arjunal says, I have Fermin Lopez in the lineup, but he is benched tonight. Keep him in, hoping for a return off the bench, or swap him up for Van Dijk or Szoboszlai. I'd bring on Szoboszlai in this case, but it's a good question. If you had Dembele, would you win Captaincy switch over the other two? No, because you saw my Captaincy list literally just a few seconds ago. And I'll just let the clean shields play out. Nice little graphic, yeah. But the top 10 captains are going to be shown in just a few seconds. Yeah, Lopez will get some minutes there, Richard. I'm very confident about that. Who to drop between Bacho, Szoboszlai and Van Dijk, says Alexander Sanchez. I would drop Van Dijk. So start Szoboszlai and Bacho, even if they clash with each other. Switch Kane captain with Kvaratskhelia. I'm going to say yes, Rico. Sorry. Yeah, I'd switch that. Bench Cancelo or Bacho. Already have Hakimi. I would bench... Really close one, this one. I think with Nuno Mendes and Hakimi is different. I just gravitate towards them. But with Bacho, as good as he is for ball recoveries, it's very close. I'm going to say Cancelo. Start Cancelo over Bacho here. Just feels bad to bench players from your favourite team, but this time it might not be the time for Van Dijk. Yeah, I get that. And I sold Van Dijk for Saliba. And I'd be surprised if it ends up going south, but fantasy games can be very weird at times. And all the best, obviously. Let's see if Liverpool can deliver. Switch Fermin Lopez for Trincao. Once again, we're talking about 3 points, and if Fermin Lopez comes on for a 1-pointer, you lose out on 2. But the thing is, if Fermin Lopez gets an assist, we're talking about 4 points, so you gain 1. A goal, yeah, we're looking at 5 or 6, unless he scores the winner and gets player of the match. So his ceiling is just lower, naturally, because he's a substitute. So, oddly enough, in this case, I think I just keep Trincao. And it's the same reason why I told people to start Van Dijk over Fermin Lopez after that benching news. And I'm expecting Van Dijk to get 2 or 3 points as well. So, yeah, Trincao for me. Let me know if you disagree. Exactly that. 8 minutes left. Now just under 7. Time does fly. Vitinha for Cancelo, Elise, or Szoboszlai? I would drop Cancelo at the moment. That's my thinking. I'm going to end this poll. 3/4 of you have gone for switch. Let me just put a very team-specific question, which is going to help some of you out as well. So which of these players would you bench? So let's make that very clear in capitals. So let's put Szoboszlai, Nuno Mendes, and João Cancelo. That's what it comes down to. Cancelo for me, says Nihal. Yeah, that's who I've currently got benched, and he is winning the vote at the moment. Cancelo or Van Dijk? I would start Cancelo. Yeah, Kane captain is solid, but I would switch. I said that from the beginning of the stream. Well, we saw the lineups, Richard. Fermi Lopez is literally not there. It's not me making up or, you know, trying to act like I'm Fabrizio Romano and stealing sources, if you will. But let's just have another look then on the lineups. So these are official. The game's about to start in literally 5 minutes. So just to recap, Barcelona have Joan Garcia, Koundé, Cubarsí, Martín, João Cancelo, Eric Garcia, Pedri, Yamal, Olmo, Rashford, and Lewandowski. No Fermín López. For Atletico Madrid, Musso, Ruggeri, Hanko, Lenormand, Molina, Lookman, Koke, Llorente, Simeone, Alvarez, and Griezmann. And just to double confirm, if it actually lets me move. Yeah, look. Who's that on the bench? Fermín López. And I did go through both sets of benches earlier. For PSG, Safonov, Hakimi, Marquinhos, Bacho, Nuno Mendes, Zé Emery, Vitinha, João Neves, Doué, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia. For Liverpool, Mamardashvili, Kirkes, Van Dijk, Kanate, Gomez, McAllister, Gravenberch, Wirtz, Szoboszlai, Frimpong, and Ekitike. So Salah is on the bench there for Liverpool. And you can have a quick look there as well at both benches. So yeah, I'm now going to go to my UCL Fantasy team and just lock things in. So captaincy, I'm going to switch, and it's just Kvaratskhelia or Yamal. I'm actually going to have a look quickly. I know Kvaratskhelia never scored against Liverpool either, by the way, during his time at Napoli and Paris Saint-Germain. So that could go either way. But yeah, I think Yamal's got a few assists against Atletico. Not many, though. It's not the team he's fared best against in his career, but that could change tonight. And that's what matters the most. See if I can get transfer market. So Yamal, stop giving me these ads, bomber clock. All right, so Yamal has 1 goal, 3 assists in 9 matches. So in La Liga, 1 goal in 5 matches. In the Copa del Rey, 3 assists in 4 games. Not bad. And, yeah, his record in the Copa del Rey is pretty good against them. But, again, home matches, well, in the league he's never done anything against them, but in the Copa del Rey, different story. 2 assists in 2 home games. So, yeah, interesting stuff there. But that's how we're looking like at the moment. Be sure to drop a like, by the way. Subscribe. We are closing in on 39,000 subscribers. Hola, Dylan, Szoboszlai o Julián. Julián para mí. Gracias. Y ya viste la lista de los mejores capitanes. Yeah, Copa del Rey as well. Welcome, Twister Parky. Yamal, 1 goal, 0 assists in 5 games. Yeah, in La Liga, that's the case. And then with Copa del Rey, it's still not a great record, but not terrible, I guess. Thanks for the help. All the best in this match day, everyone. Likewise, much appreciated. Thank you, Joao. My parents are Argentinian. So yeah, I try my best, but my English is better. Fermin will probably come on for Barcelona. Yeah, exactly that. He will come on, in my opinion. It depends a lot on game state. Kvaratskhelia will have both Frimpong and Gomez to deal with, but both are bad, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, we could see PSG switch wingers as well, but that is a good point. That is a good point. I mean, there's definitely arguments you can make for both of them, Yamal and Kvaratskhelia. I mean, it's such a close call. Yeah, literally, it could go either way. Will it be Yamal's time? Will he make it 4 returns in a row? Let's find out after the break. But yeah, he is a very consistent player, of course. 5 goals, 4 assists. The coin told me. I know someone in the live chat called me Two-Face. I mean, that's literally what I think of when I flip the coin. So, yeah. It is what it is. Kvaratskhelia captain. But I think that's going to be my final team. Raya in goal with a triple up in the Arsenal defence. Saliba, Gabriel, Nuno Mendes and Hakimi. João Cancelo is going to be on my bench with Trincao and Vinicius. I'm also not going to bring on Joan Garcia. That's the simplest decision all match day. Yamal, Szoboszlai, Kvaratskhelia captain, and the front three all return, so no need to take them out. Kane, Mbappe, and Luis Diaz. But we are locked in now. Thank you very much to those that tuned in. And yeah, it's the first, hopefully, of many substitution deadline streams. There won't be one for matchday 17, but maybe there could be one for matchday 14, 15, and 16 if all goes well. If you want to see it, let's get the stream up to as many likes as possible. But yeah, we are all locked and loaded. I'm going to tune into one of the games and try to enjoy it as much as possible. So yeah, in the meantime, while some of you are just watching the game and enjoying yourselves, yeah, sorry, Twisted Parky. I'm so torn on keeping Mbappe or not. In your starting 11, well, in most cases I would keep him in the starting 11, but in terms of captaincy, I'd switch. And that's something I talked about from the beginning of the stream. But obviously, yeah, we spoke on Discord a little bit. And yeah, just because I was so immersed in the stream, I was basically encouraging you to join this one. Elise to Van Dijk? No, I'd keep Elise for sure. But obviously, we're all done now. But hopefully, well, I've answered so many questions and pushed my voice to the absolute limit. We'll see what ends up happening. At least I've got Yamal as my predicted player of the match for the Barca game, so if he does end up hauling and I regret not captaining him, well, hopefully it does result in some points in Predict 6. So let's do a Real Madrid Bayern Munich quiz, and let's see how it goes. What is Real Madrid's biggest win against Bayern Munich in the Champions League? I'm pretty sure it's 4-0. Yeah. Which former Bayern Munich player scored the fastest goal in the Champions League versus Real Madrid? Oh, wait a minute. I think it might be... Yeah. I don't know why, but I just had a feeling it was that guy from the early 2000s. How many times have Real Madrid beaten Bayern Munich in the Champions League? Oh, 13? Let's have 2 shots at this one. Yeah, okay, nice. What was the aggregate score when Real Madrid met Bayern in the 23-24 semi-finals? The game itself, I think, was 3-2, but I think on aggregate it was 4-3. No. Yeah, it's 4... Hey! I'm just letting slip. What am I doing? We scored twice for Real Madrid when they last met Bayern in the 23-24 semi-final second leg. Hosselu. Sake, I knew that answer as well. I was going to get it right. Ombakla. Which player won the Champions League with both Bayern Munich and Real Madrid? Oh yeah, Toni Kroos. Which player scored the most goals for Bayern München versus Real Madrid in the Champions League? Oh, they're Lewandowski. No, because that was for Dortmund anyway. No, what am I doing? In which season did Real Madrid last face Bayern Munich in the Champions League? Yeah, 23-24. In which season did Ronaldo score a hat-trick versus Bayern Munich? I think it was 16-17. Yeah. How many UCL titles do Bayern Munich and Real Madrid have between them? Fucking hell, I want 1, please. So yeah, Real Madrid have, what, 15? Bayern Munich, yeah, so 21. 21? I would have gotten 9 correct out of 10, but I lost out on time there. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh, a few Liverpool fans in the chat. Good luck, Nihal and Banjo. I would have jumped on earlier, but didn't realise. Yeah, I know. People were surprised. But yeah, hopefully this becomes a habit. And yeah, just testing the waters and solving the internet issues from yesterday and the hardware problems. But yeah, this one went smoothly. As soon as I say that, and then it just absolutely cuts. But yeah, hopefully this means no more problems in the future. FPL question, start Tavernier or try my luck with Van der Ven new manager bounce? I'd probably go for Van der Ven. I mean, Bournemouth are capable of getting a result against Arsenal, who have a poor record in Game Week 32 in recent seasons. But yeah, probably Van der Ven, even though I've gone for 2-1 Sunderland, albeit that was before the dismissal of Igor Tudor. He said drop Cancelo, says Joao Govia. Yeah, or Govea. I don't want to butcher your name. Yeah, I think in a lot of cases probably drop Cancelo. Good luck as well, Kuka. Szoboszlai or Bacho? Yeah, Szoboszlai. Good luck as well, Sion. Best of luck, Sion. On the flip side, yes. Likewise, and there's more FPL content to look forward to, by the way. The final wildcard team, if you want to see it, and my own team selection, where I could activate the wildcard this week or go for a different strategy entirely. And on Friday, I'll be locking in my final Fantasy Premier League squad. And yeah, over the weekend, we're back at it with UCL Fantasy on the Sunday and Monday. And then on Tuesday, another deadline stream. And if you want to see a subs deadline stream as well, let me know. And that can be done next Wednesday. Captain Kvaratskhelia or Vitinha? Yeah, Kvaratskhelia for me. I did go through the Captaincy list quite a few times. And yeah, Kvaratskhelia was always top 2. I did put him to first in the end, and we'll see how he does. Vitinha, Joao Cancelo, Nuno Mendes, and Szoboszlai drop 1. I would have dropped Joao Cancelo. Close between him and Szoboszlai, to be fair. And that's another decision that could go against me or that I end up regretting. I think Fermin Lopez will get some minutes off the bench, yeah. Play Alvarez for Upamecano? Yes. Fermin Lopez to Joao Cancelo, Fermin on the bench. I would have started Joao Cancelo, yeah. Good that transferred Salah out. Good timing. It's a shame, but Salah hasn't had a good season. But yeah, the rest, obviously, all done. Barcelona defensively is a bit meh. Agreed. I went for Cancelo over Saliba in Matchday 12, and I regretted it a little bit, but I've got both of them in the end, so not too bad. Kvaratskhelia, Kane captain. I would have gone for Kvaratskhelia. I said that all stream long. We'll see how he does tonight. Do I leave Upamecano in for Van Dijk or switch to... Yeah, Van Dijk. I would have kept Upamecano. But yeah, this question obviously I went through earlier as well. Fermin Lopez, Herrera Martin. Yeah, I get that logic as well, to be fair. Fermin switch with Mbappe. I wouldn't bring on Fermin Lopez for Mbappe, no. Especially with the Spaniard on the bench. HBO Max is the new TNT home. Yeah, well, HBO have a lot of good stuff, by the way. Sopranos, The Penguin, Game of Thrones... yeah, a lot of good shows there. The Wire, one of the all-time greats as well. Cancelo will bang an assist. I hope not, but it's possible. I would have changed Mbappe captain. It's what I ended up doing. As a Liverpool supporter, Slot has PSG in his head rent-free for 1 year now, and his only goal is to beat PSG, so I would go with Szoboszlai. Yeah, but to be fair, what? Last season was a bit different. Liverpool were much better back then. You could say PSG were better as well, but not by much, I guess. I mean, the difference between PSG last season and this season isn't as big as Liverpool, who are significantly worse. But we'll see how it goes. And obviously, you want to have a bit of hope there. Elisa to Van Dijk? No. No. Cancelo bench on the survey, begrudgingly? Yes. I get it, though. And I ended up picking that. It was my plan from the beginning, which I told patrons and members. And I also told them that Kvaratskhelia will be my likely captain in the end, which is what I ended up doing. Alvarez for Upamecano, is it worth it? Yes. Quick one question, who to bench out Van Dijk, Hakimi, Alvarez or Mendes? Yeah. For this one, it would have been Van Dijk on the bench. I did have similar questions, and I said it earlier, if you were able to catch it in time, or on time, I should say. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. It has been a blast talking to you. I could do with Dembele, Blanc and Alvarez goal or two. Sorry, my voice is completely gone now, so time to wrap up soon. Yeah, I mean, I've backed Dembele quite a lot today, and even throughout the week, he was in my top 10 captaincy options. For the Wednesday matches, he's third. Yeah, I think he could be pretty good. And Alvarez, he got a little rest against Barcelona on Saturday. I think he is the most likely from Atletico. What do you think of Arsenal yesterday? Not a great performance, but surprise, surprise, David Raya wins player of the match and is the difference maker. If it wasn't for him, I think Arsenal lose 2 or 3-0. And with Kepa in goal, I think that's almost guaranteed. And it just makes it even more frustrating that... it sounds like I'm crying. It's not. It's literally my voice. I promise you that. It just reinforces the stubbornness of Arteta. You know, oh my god, it sounds like I'm crying again. I need to drop this stream immediately. But yeah, starting him in a cup final against Man City, and after that, obviously against Southampton, I knew he was going to do it. A lot of Arsenal fans knew it as well, deep down. But yeah, it is what it is, right? And ultimately, I think that decision, amongst others, cost Arsenal 2 trophies. The last season of Game of Thrones ruined it for me. Understandable. Even season 7 wasn't great. That was a massive drop-off. I mean, some people would go as early as season 5. It might have peaked at season 4, to be fair, but I still think there were strengths in 5 and 6, despite the fact that it deviated away from the books as well. What's your FPL chip strategy? I'm going to talk about this in my upcoming videos and save my voice in the process, but I was very bullish on Gemic 32 wildcard, bench boost 33, free hit 34, and triple captain 36. I think I might change that a little bit, and it's something I'm going to talk about in my team selection very soon, probably tomorrow if I can. But essentially, a switch to something like a wildcard in 33 is definitely on the cards, and I can free in 34 still as planned, bench boost in 35, and triple captain in 36. So 2 chips might end up shifting a little bit. Rival and me neck and neck. He has switched from Kane to Dembele. Yeah, so completely understand why you want him to blank. Yeah, look, when you said neck, I was thinking about my own neck problem I had recently, but hopefully that is sorted soon. Yeah, I think a lot of people ended up switching from Kane and Mbappe. If it was like 10 plus points, it's a different story, of course. Hey, Dylan, just come in. Never thought you'd do another UCL stream. Well, there's a few things behind it. So obviously, what happened yesterday was annoying. I did a lot of tests before the stream even started, and just before going live, it was all good in terms of internet and hardware. It was all running smoothly. But as soon as I started, the problems just began and they intensified, and there was nothing I could do in the moment. I tried different solutions, but basically after the stream, during the Arsenal match, I was working on a few things, and I was able to stabilize the internet and improve the speeds consistently. But for some reason, it was like a device-specific issue. So the internet was good everywhere, except for the device I used to do my streams. And it's very annoying because literally I had all the graphics set up, and I had to restart it just as a potential solution. And it meant I lost everything, and it caused a black screen as well when I started. So it was far from ideal. And then on top of being ill and all that stuff I've mentioned, yeah, it's like one thing after the other. But I wanted to make things right, and also people have been asking about substitution streams for a while. And yeah, I wanted to sort of like make up for yesterday, if you will. And I just remembered, and there are only a few people watching right now, you're going to be rewarded, at least 5 of you are, because I'm going to gift 5 more memberships. I gifted 5 earlier as well, so let's see who ends up getting it. I say don't make a show when books are still being written. Yeah, that's a very good point. But George R. R. Martin is just doing so many things. I mean, he wrote the script, I guess, for Elden Ring, which is a very good game, by the way, but he's doing everything but finish the book. What happened to Italy? Missed 3 World Cups in a row, even though there are 48 teams in 2026. Well, that red card obviously changed everything, but the fact they keep relying on the playoffs is quite telling. I mean, Italy are still one of the biggest nations in football, but yeah, for them to miss 3 World Cups in a row, they won it in 2006, they got grouped in 2010, had an average World Cup in 2014, and now their next one is going to be in 2030, if that, sorry. So yeah, it's like ridiculous when you say it out loud, but there you go. So let's see who got the memberships. Isaac, my name is not this name. Fantastic. Wow, what can I say? David's Football Talk and GA. Big up to you. And also to Vinny Jr. Edits and Gaze Elliott. And Doué has scored 1-0. Not particularly thrilled about that. unless Kvaratskhelia got the assist. But yeah, big up to those that have Doué. He was quite highly ranked, by the way, just so you can see. Let's go to the captaincy list. So you can see who I sort of touted as the best Wednesday options. But yeah, I didn't have Doué in my original list from yesterday, which also factored in the Tuesday options. But yeah, I think Doué was, what, 6th? Yeah, not too bad. I considered putting him above Rashford. We'll see how that ends up going. But yeah, Kvaratskhelia, come on, I need some returns here, mate. But yeah, that's a very good start for Paris Saint-Germain. We'll see if they capitalise. And as soon as we know who gets the assist, I might even just, like, get the game up. It shouldn't cause any issues. Famous last words. But yeah, no one in my team has currently got the assist, which is all I care about, to be honest. But yeah, if there are any Doué captains in the building, let me know. That's something to definitely write home about. Oh wow, it's not letting me access anything at the moment. Oh. Okay. Well, there you go. That's my captaincy list. And let's go through the last few questions. Might be a Dembele assist. Oh, Kvaratskhelia foul. No, not really what I want to hear. Yeah, exactly. He's taking ages to write. Yeah, it is what it is, right? I've got a lot of his books, actually. I need to read them. I haven't actually read the Game of Thrones stuff. But maybe one day I will. Gattuso already resigned, as well as the president. Yeah, Buffon, I mean, a lot of them did resign. Liverpool nightmare has begun. So has Chelsea. Oh, wait. You already suffered that against PSG. Damn, I had Doué, but took out in case he didn't play. Yeah, very frustrating. I think with Doué, I talked about it. I expected him to start, but there's always going to be a concern with that. Even with Kvaratskhelia, we saw him benched in the first leg against Chelsea, but these players can still come off the bench and score. We've seen that plenty of times this season in the Champions League, but yeah, it's frustrating when you sell a player and he ends up scoring like that, but there's still time. I think Matchday 1 covered this 14 points, Hakimi 14, and then switched to Suarez 6 points has burned me, so stuck with Mbappe. Oh, yeah, Matchday 1 had a few things like that. It was actually my worst ever Matchday 1 this season, but then I had like 100 plus points in Matchday 2, and I've had 3 Matchdays this season where I scored over 100, but there's just a few howlers in there, maybe just 1 or 2 that really let me down. Otherwise, I would be in my sort of normal rank, if you will, but it's still a good position to be in, top 10k, and I'm hoping I can, yeah, go even higher soon. But it looks like a Dembele assist. I hope it isn't Dembele's assist to Parky. It's typical. As soon as you say, I don't want this to happen, it ends up coming to fruition. The sport news in my country reports that Salah leaving because of Slot. Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange because last season he was unplayable. And, yeah, Liverpool fans were desperate to keep him, but things have changed dramatically and Salah has dropped off a cliff in terms of his level as well. Liverpool are toilet this season, and Arsenal didn't score a single goal against them. What can I say? What can I say? Hopefully next season we can put that right and at least win the league title this year, but I think it was a great opportunity for Arsenal to win 2 or 3 trophies. If they do the unthinkable and win Premier League and Champions League, then I will not care about what happened in the FA Cup or the Carabao. Lucas says, very lucky, no yellow there. Yeah, maybe the referee has Kvaratskhelia in his fantasy team, but the last thing I need is a Kvaratskhelia booking or red card. How we fit Bruno in our double player team? Sometimes a player is that good that you need to do it, and I've actually got a wildcard team that has Bruno in there, and then the rest are doublers pretty much, but I've got different ideas and plans and structures to talk about in those upcoming FPL videos, and the same goes for the deadline stream on Friday, so I hope to have you on board there. 300 plus points for me and a 99 and 94, so after a bad start, not bad. Yeah, there are a few things like doubling up on the Benfica defence, which was a late decision on my part. That ended up being horrific because Karabag were 2-0 down and ended up winning 3-2. I also went for Pedro Gonçalves instead of Francisco Trincao. That resulted in a massive swing. Mbappe was my captain, though, actually. that was one of the main things that helped me in Matchday 1, and he's always been very reliable for me when it comes to the armband. But today, I ended up switching it to Kvaratskhelia, and we'll see if he ends up delivering. But thanks, everyone. It has been a blast talking to all of you for the past couple of hours now. 2 hours on the dot. And yeah, I pushed my voice to the limit, that's for sure. But I did my best. And yeah, thankfully this was much smoother than yesterday's stream, where I still made the best of a bad situation, if you will. If you haven't done so already, like this stream, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content, both FPL and UCL Fantasy. Stay tuned for the best wildcard squad, the final version with the updates from the FA Cup matches over the weekend, and my team selection in preparation for Friday's deadline stream in Game Week 32, where I could activate the wildcard or possibly change my chip strategy. With UCL Fantasy, keep your eyes peeled. I might merge the Limitless and wildcard squads into one video, the best team. Otherwise, they'll be done separately for possibly the last time this season with my team selection and a deadline stream on Tuesday. If you want to see more of these substitution deadline streams, let me know in the comment section, in the live chat, and also by showing support, not just to this video, but also on Spotify. Follow me on that platform, leave a 5-star review, join my Discord server, and check me out on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, and also become a member or patron. Click the join button on YouTube or type in patreon.com/FPL Dylan. I'll see you very soon for those pieces of FPL content, and next week, before you know it, we'll be back with Matchday 14 videos and live streams for UCL Fantasy.